Rugby is a team game played with an oval ball that may be kicked, carried, and passed from hand to hand. Points are scored by grounding the ball behind the opponent's goal line or by kicking it between the two posts and over the crossbar of the opponent's goal. The game of rugby is played worldwide in all different countries, ranging from Europe all the way to the Pacific. The earliest origins of rugby can be traced back to villages in Europe during ancient times. The first balls were made of leather stuffed with moss. The local villages came up with soccer-like games in which they would play each other at. This was an early use of balls for sports in Europe. Soccer would evolve from these games and eventually rugby. Perhaps the game that bears the most amount of resemblance to rugby during ancient times was ex-heroes. The objective of ex-heroes was to throw the ball over the heads of the other team and push the opposing players over the end line to score. During the period between the 1400s and the 1600s in England, soccer, which had sprung out of various Celtic ball games, was actually banned by the English king several times. It was a game of peasants and thought to incite sin and violence. Despite this, the game persevered and continued to be played throughout Europe, but mainly in England. But the event that sparked the evolution from soccer to an altered version of today's rugby would not happen until 1823. In 1823, at the rugby school, a boy named William Webb Ellis would change the game forever. Back then, rugby was basically soccer, but William mischievously picked up the ball and ran it instead of kicking it. The other kids were so awestruck by this and started to do the same. Soon, all the schools that played rugby in England adopted this method. Before this, few official rules were written for rugby. The ones that were written were not on the same page, to say the least. The work to draw up the first rules of rugby started on August 25th, 1845, and ended on the 28th of August. The work was done by 3 senior pupils at the rugby school after they received instructions to codify the game of rugby. They submitted 37 rules and laid out some order for the game of rugby. On January 26, 1871, the Rugby Football Union was founded in the Pall Mall restaurant in Regent Street, London, to standardize the rules that also involved some of the more violent aspects of the rugby school game. This cleaned up the game so that the public could finally have a set of rules to play with. Rugby became very popular in the Pacific region in countries such as Australia and the tribes of the Pacific, mainly the Samoan people. The Samoan people were naturally good at the game of rugby due to their warrior culture. They added one of the staples to rugby, the haka. The haka is a dance used to intimidate rival teams before games. Today, rugby is an extremely popular sport outside of America and can even be compared to American football. Rugby stadiums even fill up with more people than the Super Bowl. There was a world championship for rugby in professional leagues all over the world. The sport shows no sign of dying down and continues to grow and develop. But we can never forget the history of this beautiful game, for everything has a history.